Hey guys, it's Madison Estes. Welcome back to my channel. I'm a writer and freelance editor, and today I'm doing the Authortube Oldie Tag. I was inspired by the video that Year of the Author did. If you haven't seen her channel yet, I highly recommend checking it out. The first question is, how long have you had your Authortube channel? This was originally my personal channel like a lifetime ago, and then back in 2020 I was hired by the Writing Barn to teach a horror writing class. I ended up doing maybe like 4 or 5 promo videos that year, and then at the very end of the year I decided to start an Authortube channel. I ended up not posting anything for several months last year because I had some personal issues going on, and I was also busy trying to revise Roadkill 6. But then at the end of last year I started posting again, and I've been posting fairly consistently since then. So to simplify a very complicated answer to a very simple question, I've been on Authortube for a little bit over a year. Question 2 is, what aspect of writing have you improved since joining Authortube? That is a really good question. I would just say just everything. I mean, maybe particularly with setting, because I realized around the time I started this Authortube channel that was an area I really struggled with. I do not like writing setting. I am definitely have an issue with like white room syndrome. So that's something that I might be making some videos on. To me, I feel like whenever I make videos, I'm not doing it just to teach, even though I have taught a class before. That's not why I do these videos. A lot of times I'm trying to teach myself as well. So if you see that I'm making a video about certain things, consistently, it might be that that's, an area I feel as if I struggle with, and I'm trying to, teach myself and improve my own craft as well. So yeah, setting, at least I hope I've improved. I think I have. I've also gotten a lot better at writing introductions as well. I used to not care about introductions at all, especially because I was writing short stories. I was like, they'll get interested at some point. It's a short story. At some point, something I write is going to bring them in. Set the scene. Let's just get them in there and get the ball rolling. Or I would just start it with like a line of dialogue with no context. I really just did not care back in the day. But now I'm a little bit more careful. I try to put a little bit more thought into my opening lines. What are your biggest accomplishments since starting your horror writing channel? Well, I taught a horror writing class at the Writing Barn. That was kind of the main reason I started filming in the first place. That's probably my biggest accomplishment aside from becoming the editor of Roadkill Texas Horror by Texas Writers Volume 6. Which, if you're new to this channel and you don't know anything about it, I ended up doing an entire video on selecting stories for this anthology, so if you want to get a peek behind the curtain and see, what the editing process is like and what the selection process is like, I would recommend checking out that video. The next question is, how has your drafting style changed since you started your channel? In terms of plotting, plantsing, or pantsing. For those of you that don't know, a plotter is someone that plots out all the major plot points of a story. A pantser is someone that's just winging it, and then a plantser is someone that plots out some parts of the story but likes to leave enough room for some flexibility and discovery along the way. So I'm definitely a plantser, although I identify a little bit more on the plotter end of the spectrum than the pantser end of the spectrum. So with short stories, I used to plot things, and now unless the story seems like it's going to be very complicated, or if it's going to be a longer story, I don't really plot anything. Or if I do, I plot like maybe just the main points of the story. But I'm not as much of a plotter as I used to be, especially with short stories. Although now that I'm working on like my first novel, the first one I'm going to finish, I'm a little bit more of a plotter, yeah. Especially, I noticed that I don't stop plotting even once the first draft is almost over. In fact, I think I'm plotting even more because I'm trying to like just get a look at the big picture, and I think that, having an outline is really important for that. And I read in a craft book, I don't remember which one, but someone had said that at some point you're going to want to outline your story either before or after the first draft so that you can, make sure that things are happening in the right order and make sure that every scene has a purpose. And they said, would you rather do that before you write your first draft so you don't have to go back and do massive rewrites, or would you rather do it after your first draft? And after I heard that, it really made me look at plotting in a new way. And so yeah, for any longer project, I definitely think that I'm going to be a plotter, at least for the foreseeable future. And one more note on this subject, and I'm realizing I might end up doing a video on this because I'm just going on and on. I have a lot more thoughts on this topic than I realized. I saw this meme, they criticized the author because as they were reading the story, it sounded like you were just making it up as you went along. And then underneath it, it says, well, I hate to break it to you, buddy. The joke being that all writers make it up as they go along. But actually, that's a legitimate criticism. Like in the first draft, yes, you're making it up as you go along, but in subsequent drafts, as you're editing, the goal is to make it seem as if you knew what you were doing all along. And yes, I stole that from Neil Gaiman. I didn't make that up on my own. But seriously, like that is the goal of editing, is to make it seem as if you knew what you were doing the whole time. So if your book reads like that, that's actually legitimate criticism. I know that it's supposed to be a joke, but the joke just drives me nuts because I feel like, it's making fun of the reader, and the reader has a really good point. If you plan to publish, have your publishing goals changed since starting? Yes and no. I used to be very, very certain that I wanted to be traditionally published, and I still am certain I want to be traditionally published, although I want to be traditionally published by the Big Five. I want to be published by someone that is going to get my book into physical stores, into Barnes & Noble, into Walmart, into Target. And if the publisher can't do that for me, I don't think that they would be offering me enough services to make it worth it. When I first started out, I was certain that I wanted to be traditionally published. I didn't want to have to worry about the cover or formatting or marketing or any of that. I wanted to be able to focus simply on writing and getting better at my craft. And of course, if I was traditionally published, I would still be willing to do interviews and do whatever I could to market the book. But there's definitely a big difference between marketing when you're traditionally published and marketing when you're self-published. And I am a traditionally published author. I've had many short stories published with several publishers, and that could be another reason why it feels more comfortable for me. And then there's the fact that Roadkill 6, even though it is a traditionally published novel, it was published by a small independent press, so I'm having to do a lot of the marketing on my own, and I'm seeing that it is not fun. Contacting reviewers, contacting presses, setting up interviews, it's pretty exhausting. I don't regret any of it. I absolutely adore this book. I adore the stories in this book. I loved the opportunity to work with all of these different writers. It's just the marketing aspect is not something that I enjoy. Having said that, there's a lot of perks to self-publishing, the biggest one being that you get a greater share of the royalties. You also get complete creative control. You get to decide what the cover looks like, the font, the formatting, and all that stuff. And even though initially I didn't want to have to worry about those things, there is this part of me that's like, oh, what if I write an amazing book and I get a lousy cover? So there is just like this one small part of me that's just like, oh, that would be really cool to be able to self-publish and have control of all that. What is something either channel related or writing related that you've learned the hard way? I think I kind of covered that in my last question. Marketing is so hard. Another thing I didn't realize would be so hard is getting people who said that they would read your book and leave a review to actually leave a review. Seriously, I was so thrilled with all the people that contacted me, and hardly any of them have done it. And I get it, because I also have ARCs that I haven't done reviews for, because you just get busy and life gets in the way. And yet that doesn't make it any less frustrating, especially whenever one of them sent me a message privately on Facebook and said, I loved the anthology, I'm gonna leave you a great review, and they never left a review. I'm still waiting, and I'm probably gonna go ahead after I finish this video and message them and be like, hey, did you ever leave that review, by the way? I feel like I'm harassing readers. I'm not. I've only left like one reminder email. I've only sent out one reminder. And, I'm definitely not, but I feel like it. I feel like I'm just, constantly pestering people, read my anthology, and I just don't like the marketing aspect at all. Like, I just want to crawl into my writer cave and just write and then have someone else do everything else. Like, just, finish, and then you hear the little typewriter go cling, and then I just pull the manuscript out, hand it off to someone else, and then get started on my next book. To me, that would be amazing. So, short answer is that marketing is hard and getting reviews is hard. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. The next question is, what is something that frustrates you about Authortube? This is a really good question. I honestly don't know if I follow enough people to be in the loop about all of the Authortube tea. I hope I use those slang words correctly. What are the kids saying these days? Authortube tea? What is that? Seriously, I don't know if I follow enough people to, be in the loop. Although I do follow several groups, so I kind of get a little bit of a sense of like some of the problems in the community, but I honestly think that people talking about all of the problems in the community is one of the biggest problems in the community, because I just see so much positivity on Authortube. I really do. I mean, I see a little bit of negativity, I see a little bit of jealousy, but yeah, I don't really know what the biggest problem on Authortube is. I guess just some of the people that, talk about it as if there are major problems in the community. I don't really think that there are. I think that a lot of times people like making videos about how much drama there is just to like get more viewers or something. I don't know. I don't know. People do love drama and they love talking about it. So maybe that's why, people act like there's so much negativity going on, but I really just don't see it. I don't know. Maybe I have rose-colored glasses on or something. Maybe that's why I don't see it. Okay, so I just realized I may have misinterpreted that question as what's wrong with Authortube as opposed to what frustrates you. I don't think that there's anything that does frustrate me, again, except the fact that people act like there's something that's horribly wrong with it. Like, the problem with Authortube, and I'm like, what problems? The only other thing I can think of that frustrates me is whenever I do a video that, I feel like has a lot of good information in it, a lot of helpful information, and it gets like a fraction of the views that some of my sillier videos get. And I'm glad that any of my videos are doing that well. But, as a content creator, that can be frustrating whenever, there's this thing that you created that you're really proud of, that you feel is super helpful, could help a lot of writers, and, is full of good information, and it doesn't do as well as just a video that you made half-heartedly because you thought it would be funny. What is your hope for the future of Authortube? Okay, so I have several hopes. My first hope is that my channel gets bigger. That's a personal, selfish hope. As for the community itself, I hope that it continues to grow. I've heard that, it seems to be getting smaller, but I think that what that is, content creators that are like medium-sized or larger channels are having trouble getting more subscribers. And so they're like, oh, Authortube is dying. And it's like, no, it's not Authortube that's dying. I think that there's more Authortubers than there ever have been, and there's more options, there's more people doing it. I think that the community itself is growing. I just think that certain individuals' channels are not growing as much or growing anymore because they've kind of, hit a wall. So I don't think that Authortube is dying. I think that it's growing, and I hope that it continues to grow, and I hope that we continue to get, different channels that focus on different things. And another thing I hope is that we get more education type videos. I feel like, the trend lately is writing vlogs and streaming, and I did actually, start going to a productivity stream that I really enjoy, but I do kind of hope that we get a little bit more back towards tutorial videos. Like a lot of people have said that like the same topics kind of keep getting covered over and over, and I like to see more tutorial videos that are actually helpful and don't just cover the same information again and again. Share some oldie wisdom for the newbie authortubers. Okay, words of wisdom. First of all, growing your channel is really freaking hard. Consistently post. I would say that you don't necessarily have to post every week, but I would try to post at least a few times a month. Try not to go months without posting like I did, because first of all, it's very hard to get back in the habit, and then second of all, I wouldn't say you lose subscribers. I mean, you might lose a few, but like people even that are still subscribed are just not in the habit of watching your videos when they come out anymore. So it's a little bit harder to kind of like pick up again. And as I've already said in this video, be prepared that some of the videos that you think are amazing, that are going to do so well, might not do well at first. They might not do well at all. And like, the silly video that you posted just for fun does great. So don't be afraid to have fun and be silly. Like I dress up in some of my videos. I will cosplay as some of the characters. I literally dressed myself up as a house not that long ago. You can see the costume in the background. But yeah, just have fun with it. Otherwise you're going to get burned out. And even if you make several successful videos in a row, it doesn't matter if you get to the point where you're just so tired and so burned out you don't want to do it anymore. My last tip is join a community. I would definitely join like hashtag authortubers and booktubers take over on Facebook. I am a member of several Facebook groups for authortubers and booktubers, and I talk to people regularly. I watch videos, I share my videos, I talk with people about different subjects that come up in the community. So if you are an oldie authortuber, I would challenge you to do this tag, and if you are not, if your channel is like less than a year old, then I would recommend that you do the newbie authortuber tag. Introduce yourself, and I would really be interested in seeing those videos. So if you want to include a link to like an oldie tag or a newbie tag in the comments section, I would love to watch your videos and let you know what I think. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On this channel, I post book reviews, writing advice, horror content, and vlogs. And I just edited a horror anthology called Roadkill 6 Texas Horror by Texas writers. I'll include a link for this in the description box below if you want to check it out. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later.